Hello and welcome to the Godcast. This is another sporting interview, and this interview today is with Jamie Hoyland. Now, Jamie is an English former footballer. He played over 400 games in the Football League and Premier League. He was a midfielder, and he played for clubs such as Manchester City and Bury, Sheffield United, Bristol City, Burnley, Carlisle United and Scarborough. And in this interview, we talk about Jamie's career, the ups and downs of being a professional footballer, and what he's doing now, where he's actually a scout for Everton. So I do hope you enjoy this interview. And for any more interviews like this, then just Google the Godcast and you'll find them all there. So here now is the interview with Jamie Hoyland. Well, I am absolutely delighted. In fact, it's marvellous to say that joining me on the Godcast today is Jamie Hoyland, who is a very experienced ex-professional footballer who, with over 400 appearances in pro football, playing for Bury and Burnley and Sheffield United, amongst some other clubs as well, which we'll perhaps touch on when we have a chat. Jamie, it's brilliant to welcome you to the Godcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, great, thank you. I suppose marvellous as what we're going through as a nation. But yeah, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, so I think everybody's been a bit positive now.
Yeah, where in the world are you, Jamie?
I'm in Rochdale.
Oh, right, not far away.
I've been up there nearly 21 years now. So yeah, I love it up there. It's great. Stuck out near the hills up there, so it's great for me dog walking.
Yeah. Jamie, I mean, before we get down to a bit of a trip down memory lane with your career, this morning when we're recording this, we hear the crash of this Super League. What's been your kind of thoughts and reflections upon this last few days?
Well, I mean, disgusted with what was going to happen, to be honest, but elated when I went to bed last night that it had all collapsed. I mean, it's funny really, because I was lucky enough to be a footballer. Probably fans will say probably unlucky to watch me play, but I was lucky to be a footballer. But all my life, I've been a football fan, and I love football. And the thing about going to the matches, and the whole build up and watching your team play, watching your team lose, talking about it, being upset with it, having, you know, whether you're at work, whether you're at school with your friends, waiting for the next match to come, all that sort of stuff is what football's about. And I just thought, what's happening here? They're taking everything away from what football in this country certainly was about. And I am so pleased it's all fell apart. And it's funny, I spoke to somebody yesterday who works at the BBC, to be honest, and I just said to him, I was one of the players who were going to go on strike in '92 when the Premier League came. We were all going to go on strike because they were going to stop the money coming to the PFA and all like this. And we were going to go on strike, but we were going to lose money because then we didn't earn what they earn now. And my big thing was that if the players come out on this one, who were millionaires, by the way, multi-millionaires, which fair play to them, fantastic, they've got it. If they come out, because actually another few millions to them playing in this league is nothing. It's about winning trophies for players now. If they came out and stuck with the supporters, it'll fold. And actually, as the day went on and players came out, and obviously Gary Neville did his thing on Sunday, it really got a groundswell. And obviously the supporters at Chelsea was brilliant, you know, protesting there. I'm not wanting to, you know, big protests and things like that, but I thought, fantastic, you're showing unity. And I think the whole country came together yesterday, football people, and went, we don't want this. And they didn't get it. And like I say, it's a great day to wake up this morning and think we're in it.
Do you think that's the end of it though, Jamie? I mean, you just said then about, it's about trophies. I mean, just as I follow football all my life. I'm a strong follower of the Clarets, but I do wonder if it is about trophies as from the outside looking in. I wonder if salary is the new medal, you know, but I never thought Burnley would get to the Premier League, and what saddened me about what happened was the prospect that, well, the dream's over if you want to get to that next level.
Yeah.
It's just dreadful. It's
I mean, listen, I don't really want to talk about my job and but I work at Everton, and you know that's a club where we're looking to get to the next level, and suddenly that got took away. And I think the statement our club put out yesterday was absolutely fantastic, and I think that resonated with a lot of football fans, and it will give people a lot of kudos towards Everton and how they what they did, and it is that sort of club. But yeah, I mean, it is. You've got to say now salaries and stuff like that. I must admit, when I played, I was lucky enough to play in the Premier League for, well, the first division for a couple of 18 months and then the Premier League for 3 years, but not what it is now. And we loved it. We loved playing football. And it was our job, to be honest. It paid the mortgage. You got a decent car. You had a nice holiday at season. Have we got another contract for this season? We need to.
We just lost you. We just lost you then, Jamie, for a sec. You were saying, you know, about Everton.
Yeah.
I was talking to Chris Casper, who was on another Godcast, and you know, do you think it's at youth level, Jamie? Do you think we need to do more in kind of conditioning players? And I don't mean that in a fitness sense. I mean in kind of a mental sense. You know, they come in and you know, from what I can gather, they expect to be treated like superstars the minute they walk in the ground. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm a big believer in that, to be honest. Because I was lucky enough to start at Man City, but I used to go in my school holidays when I was 14, and I didn't sign until I was I didn't sign until I was just 16, because my dad, who'd been a professional footballer, said to me, "You don't get your 5 O-levels, you don't get your apprenticeship at Man City." So I got my education, I got through them, but then my dream then was to get into the first team and be around Man City and see it all. Now they all come to the training ground from 6-year-old, and where the first team come and everything, they get all the kit, they get everything, and it's just, well, I'll take that for granted. And I think we've got to go a little bit, for me anyhow, we'll go away from that a little bit, get the kids enjoying the football, playing with the mates, and then start being serious. I think they've started doing it in Germany from, I think it's 12 or 14 years old. Bayern Munich don't have junior teams until then, and then bring them in. So that actually, that dream, I used to go to Main Road and Platt Lane to train, and it was like Disneyland to me. It was like going to Disneyland every time. Yeah. It was like, oh my gosh, look at this. You know, gosh, they're first team players. Now the kids that they see that from, like I say, an early age. And it's not that same feeling, which I think we need to give them. And then they become like, well, right, what's my next step? Right? When's my big contract coming? When's my age? When do we get my agent? You know, and then suddenly it all falls apart, and these kids are devastated.
Yeah.
And that's happened since football started, people getting released. But now, because of the expectations and the dreams of these kids from an early age, it becomes more paramount, and it's horrible. But like you say, they've got to be conditioned more for that.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that, Jamie. Let's take a trip down memory lane then with Jamie Hoyland. So, a Yorkshire lad.
Yes.
Was that where did you grow up? What was school days like for Jamie?
I was a Sheffield lad, and like I say, my dad was an ex-footballer. But obviously, when he played, he were on £8 a week. In fact, when he first started, he worked in steel mills and then got on tram and went and played in afternoons for Sheffield United. So I lived in a lovely place called Greenhill till I was 10, 11 year old. And then my dad decided, right, we're coming out of newsagents. We're going to get a pub. And we got a pub a quarter of a mile from Sheffield United's ground, like all factories round me. So all my mates had gone. My school were an hour away. And to be fair, I was pulling pints from 11-year-old.
Really? Wow.
and playing football up front with regulars against the wall. So yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So parents of a certain generation in those days were rather religious. Was there any religious upbringing in your family, Jamie, that you remember?
When I was no, not really, no, not really. I'll be honest. when I was younger, when I was 9, my first ever team were the Cubs. So I played for Greenhill Methodist Cubs, and we used to have to go to church parade on Sunday. So we that's what we'd have to do to be in the Cubs and for me to play football. So I suppose that was me leaning then towards, a bit of religion and church, so I could play football.
Yeah. Well, you obviously found a new religion in football, didn't you? So
yeah, I did. Yeah.
So when were you showing a bit of a talent for football? I mean, you mentioned your dad. I mean, purists will know that your dad had quite a distinguished career at Sheffield United. He was there a long time when I was looking.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. In fact, he's 88 now. My dad, he's one of the oldest players still alive, for a Sheffield United player. He played there 14 years. So two brothers. Andrew, he was clever. He went and played. He went to Loughborough University, and my other brother was a very, very good non-league player, but he never made the professional side. And so for me, it was in the blood, and I was lucky enough to go on and do all right.
Yeah. So how did it come about? Was it being scouted, or having your dad in the game, was that a help?
No, not at all. My dad didn't come that much to watch me play. He only came when I represented my town team, Sheffield, my city team, Sheffield. He had nothing to do with the Sunday League, and he just did that really. And yeah, there were scouts there all the time. Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, City, Forest, Man United, and I was a bit loath really to go anywhere. I went to. And then John Beresford, who was a footballer for, he came to City. He was at City with me, Newcastle, Barnes, all of them. His dad did a bit of scouting for City, and he was the first one who said, come to City. So I went to City, loved it, absolutely loved it. And then Chelsea came knocking,
right,
and said, do you fancy coming down? And I went to Chelsea, and I absolutely loved it. But the bomb went off in Hyde Park, which killed the horses.
Yeah, I remember.
And everything. And I came home, my mum went, you're not going to live in London. You're not going down there.
Right.
And so City, it became, then City was the one. And actually, it was a fantastic club. Brilliant. Absolutely superb for young players. And so I left home at 16, moved to Manchester.
So which coaches would have been looking after you at City then, Jamie? Were the coaches that stand out for you as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, my first youth team coach was John Ryan, who was played at Norwich, right back. In fact, if you ever watch the John Fashanu goal, the one where he flicks up and volleys, Ryan's the one who plays the ball into him. And John Ryan was absolutely fantastic for giving you confidence, positivity. Because I started off, I must admit, I was slow to get. I was slow as a player. I was slow to get going, and it was leaving home and all like that. By the end of the season, I'd got in the England setup, and I got England youth caps, and he'd push me as a centre forward, believe it or not. And then Rhino left, John left, went somewhere else, and then we had the legend of the club, Tony Buck, took over the youth team, and we went from chalk and cheese because Bucky was old school. Oh my gosh, talk about bring you up the hard way. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Chris talked about Eric Harrison at Manchester United. Tony Buck was the equivalent.
Yeah.
That you did your jobs. If there was any dust, what you'd left, you stayed another hour, cleaned all again. And the training was so hard. He demanded of you, but he made professional footballers.
Yeah.
And from our group, I think I played over 500 games. Paul Simpson, who was one of my best mates, still to this day, played 800 and odd games from it. And then the year below was unbelievable. Paul Lake, Andy Inchley, Phil Barrett, John Beresford, Steve Redmond, David White, Ian Scott, all these, Paul Malden, all these players came through. Darren Beckford, Blowing Out can go, and they were all Tony Buck. But if I saw Tony Buck now, if he walked by side of your father now in there, I'd be like that, because I respected him that much. Scared of him, but respected him.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic for what it was to be a young footballer, and appreciate what it meant. And he used to be a bricklayer, you see, until he was 30 and didn't get his thing. So he'd worked, and he knew then to come into football, it's not working football. And I always say that to people. I've never worked a day in my life because it's my passion. So you have to appreciate what you could have to do to earn a living to what you do. And actually, I've been lucky all my life.
Yeah. Jamie, I was talking to Lou McCarry. I've not on the Godcast that'll be out soon. And he was talking about maybe slightly different generation. We were talking about the 70s and particularly Tommy Docherty. And he was talking about in those days, it was less coaching, more motivating, more about inspiration. So where was it with you as a young kid? Were you somewhere in between? Was it similar?
No,
or did it
no. A brilliant point that, because when we talk about it all the time, me and Paul Simpson, we never got coached. It wasn't stop, stand still, or learn the game. So if I was a centre forward as a young player, that was it. I had to learn then to be a centre forward through playing. And Paul was the same. We never went through team play or anything. You had to learn yourself to be a footballer, make your mistakes, learn from them, and then go on from it. And that's exactly, and it was all motivation driving you to be what you wanted to be a footballer.
Yeah. And you moved on from City, though. It didn't quite happen for you, did it?
No. I made my debut at 17, lucky enough to score on my debut. And then I played against Oldham, match what was on telly. As City were going for a promotion, I had a shocking tackle on my left knee by Gary Hooligan, and it knackered my knee. I came back 6 months later, played one reserve game, same knee, my cartilage went. So it was a bit of a bad time. And then went in to see Billy McNeil, who was manager. I'd been there 4 years. I was on 75 quid a week. And I'd gone to see him, and I got my wage demands. I wanted £100, 120 year after. I know this is a team who were high up as well. And I walked in, sat down at his desk, and he went, right, I'm releasing you. And I went, sorry? And he went, I'm releasing you. We've signing 3 other players, Nigel Johnson, I think Mark Lillis could have been one. And he went, you're not in my plans. And that were it. Walked out and thought, where's it going to go now?
Gosh. What did that do to you, Jamie? Were you...
knocked me for 6, to be honest. It really took the wind out, and I'm thinking, but I've been here 4 years. I've been captain at reserves when I was 17 and scored on my debut. But as football is, it doesn't owe you anything, and that's how it was. And I thought, right, what do I do now? What's going? And luckily, the phone started ringing, and a few clubs came in. Norwich, I went down on trial there. They wanted to sign me. Aldershot, who were in the league there, Bolton Wanderers, and then I got a phone call from Martin Dobson at Bury. So Dobbo's talking to me and said, would you like to come and play for Bury? I'd like you to come over for talks and all like this. So I'm going, yeah, brilliant. I'd heard Martin Dobson and I'd heard good things about him. And I remember coming off the phone, and I know this sounds, I lived in Didsbury then, we lived in digs in Didsbury. And I came off the phone and I turned to Simo and I just said to him, where's Bury? And I drove over the day after him in my Fiat 128 and on Manchester Road. And I remember stopping at the garage near the Swan pub and saying, excuse me, could you tell me where Gig Lane is? And she said, yeah, it's just down there. You'll see it. There's a right turning and go up there and it's there. And to be fair, as soon as I went in, I fell in love with the place, and Dobbo was brilliant. But yeah, I know it sounds a bit like that, but as a young lad, you'd go and play at places and you'd just be on coach and get there and get off. And Bury was like a different world, North Manchester to South Manchester. So, but yeah, it was brilliant. Start of my real professional football career then.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, no disrespect to Bury, but it's not Man City, is it? Was it a culture shock for you, or was it a case of like, I'm happy?
No, it was. It wasn't a culture shock. I was just happy that I was still in the game and that somebody had given me a chance, and now it was up to me to prove myself and get going. And obviously, there was Martin. I didn't know at the time because other chapters in my career hadn't come, but it was the Burnley connection. There was Martin Dobson, Chris Casper, and Ray Pointer, who was reserve team manager, who I didn't know at the time were absolute legends. They were brilliant blokes, but I didn't know how much legendary status they had until down the line, really.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of Bury Burnley connections, aren't there? I was thinking about that as Chris Pratt, and obviously Stan was there, and
yeah. Well, when I signed, there was Joe Jacob there, Brian Flynn, Alan Taylor had signed, Kevin Young was there, so there was quite a few who had played at Burnley, who obviously Dobbo had seen and brought back to Bury.
Yeah, and did you have much success at Bury?
Yeah, not as a team. I mean, success in the way Martin Dobson was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Mentor, I always tell him that. I always tell Martin for what he did for bringing me up. I learned to play professional football, so you know, I had, like I say, the players around you we brought in. We had young lads there. Liam Robinson was there, David Lee, Andy Hill, and then he'd bring players in like Mark Higgins, Noel Brotherston, Sammy McElroy. Terry Pashley was already there, Pash, who played, and we played football. It was fantastic the way we played. We missed out on the playoffs a couple of times, but it got me on the stage, I suppose, because we had a great cup run. We knocked QPR out in the old League Cup, who were top of the first division then. They had Seaman and all like these people playing from Les Ferdinand. And then we got Man United next round at Gig Lane. So Terry Robinson, being the wily old chairman, said to him, right, well, I tell you what, can we move it to Old Trafford? We'll get more there and I'll get more. And they did. And I was lucky enough to open the scoring that night. And it was on Sports Night. So, you know, it was Hoyland scores at Stretford End and stuff like that. And it just got me noticed again. So I love my football. I played consistently. I played about 160 odd games for him, I think, in 4 seasons or something like that. And then it was time to move on.
Yeah.
But Bury, I was absolutely devastated when Bury went out of business because they meant so much to me and my career. And you know, it was terrible what happened to them. But after 4 years there, it was time to move on. And like they said, the rest is history.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the demise of Bury because I think even, you know, to all of us, all football fans in Lancashire, that was, you know, it was a bitter pill to swallow. But, you know, they probably won't be in the Football League for many years now, will they?
No. I mean, it's still wrangling on now, you know, and I just couldn't believe it happened. I mean, I remember it all saying, oh, they're going to go. And I thought, no club goes out of it. No chance. The EFL won't do that. And then they did. And I don't know if they will come back from it, to be honest. The ground's still there and everything, but just nobody playing there now. Well,
let's talk about cheerier times. So you got your move. You played for your club that you adored.
Yes, I did. I did. It's funny, you know, like you talk about agents now and all like this. There were no real agents then. Only the real top players got it. Like at the time, Gaza was about and Shearers and stuff. And so you did it yourself. And I decided to leave Bury. And I wrote to every club in the top 2. Wrote handwritten letters. There were no computer to do it then, handwritten. And I wrote to loads and loads, and I got some fantastic replies back. Sir Alex Ferguson sent me a letter back saying, we've watched you. We come to Bury to watch games. You've played against us. Fortunately, you're not for us at the time, which I knew it wasn't. But I'm sure you'll get a club and stuff like that. And then I'd get phone calls from clubs who wanted me. And I nearly signed for Wolves. I had talks with them. And I went for talks with Wolves. And they said to me, what do you want? This is in a hotel just off the M6. And I didn't know what I wanted. So, and this is why I always say I'll never, ever be able to play poker. So at the time, to be fair, I'd done well because at that time I just got married and I was on £200 a week playing for Bury, 10 grand a year. So I sat there, and the manager at Wolves then, Graham Turner, said, "Well, what about this?" And he pulled a beer mat and wrote some figures, and he shoved it me across them. And I looked at these figures and went, "Wow, that's brilliant!" So I thought, well, there's my negotiation gone. And they'd offered me 650, 750, 850, and I think we're at 10 or 12 grand a year signing on fee each year, which when you've been on 10 grand a year, that was a lot of money. So I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. So I said, right, can you just give me 5 minutes? I need to make a phone call. So I'll get me 10p out of me trousers, because there were no mobile phones.
No.
I've gone to the bar in this hotel. So can I use your phone? Put me 10p in, ring Sam Ellis, who was manager at Bury. And Sam says to me, right, what's happening? He said, I said, I'm going to sign. Yeah, it'd be great. So I've gone to the phone. I ring Sam Ellis, and Sam says to me, right, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to sign for Sheffield United. And he says to me, oh, sorry, you're going to sign for Wolves. And I went, yeah, I'm going to sign for Wolves. He went, well, I've just had Dave Bassett on the phone from Sheffield United. He wants you to go over and talk. So I went, wow, right, give me 2 minutes. So I go back into the room. I said to Wolves manager, I said, listen, fantastic thing you've given me, the contract. I said, but I just need to go home and talk to my agent, which is my wife, and discuss it. And he went, all right, no problem. I got in my car and drove straight over. Is that your noise or mine?
I think it's yours, Jamie.
Where's the blue?
We've got an interesting interlude here in this podcast.
Yeah, sorry about that. Can you just hear some stuff here? So anyhow, so I drive straight over to Sheffield, and I go in to see Dave Bassett, and he says to me, right, what are you after? So I said, well, maybe 700, 800, 900 a week. He went, right, give me, and a bit more on a signing on fee, because I just looked at these. He went out, came back from secretary, and went to me, right, we can get it done. And within 5 minutes, I'd signed for Sheffield United.
Wow. And all your dreams have come true. You were playing for your...
Yeah, it was. It was to go and play for Sheffield United, who just got promoted as well. They just got promoted into which is now the Premier League, was just unbelievable. And like, I was just elated, really. It was just, at the time, it was like the best thing ever. As it worked out, it put a lot of pressure on me and the family, as it was for 4 years, but I won't swap it for anything. It was just amazing.
I guess like most footy fans, you forget about these names, but Dave Bassett, he had a fantastic career, didn't he?
He did. And, we played for Harry, and we were always the underdogs. And it was always, look at these think they're better than you, they're on more money than you, they can do that. And we'd run through a brick wall. And we did, really, for 4 years. It was fantastic times. It was brilliant. Like you say there about Lou Macari, about getting a group of players together who weren't the best, and we weren't the best, whatever. But as a collective and as a team, we took some beating, and we were hard to beat. And if they punched one, they punched us all.
Yeah. And were there the best times for you, Jamie, in those Premier League years?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. People always ask me, what were your best times? And really, every club I've been at, I've loved every minute. From Man City being an apprentice, from Bury, learning to be a footballer, from Sheffield United, living your dreams. Yeah. Obviously, it was great. We got to the FA Cup semi-final and all that sort of stuff. To come into Burnley, which, I played, and the reason I want to sign for Burnley is we played Burnley in the FA Cup, and when you see the support they had and the passion, was just like, wow, that is some club. And I didn't. Same with Burnley. I didn't even know where that was, really, because you'd come and play at Burnley, you'd come and coach, you get off, you go down that dark tunnel to get to your dressing rooms, and off you go. And you know, coming to Burnley was just like, whoa, this is going to be. But the fans were brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And like I said, I still live up here now because of that. The people around here, and I'm a Yorkshireman, so it's, you know, for me to say that about Lancastrians is brilliant. But I just love the people, the warm people. It's a town like Sheffield's a city, but same thing. It's all about the working class and what it's about. If you work hard, people appreciate you, whatever you do.
Yeah, and now you kind of so you
embrace it. I felt.
Well, if anybody's, we are having a few technical issues. We'll keep drifting in and out, but we'll keep it, Jamie. I should be able to edit all this for our listeners. So, coming to Burnley, how did that come around? Who was the gaffer at the time, Jamie?
It was Jimmy Mullen.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I was PFA rep at Sheffield United. So I'd gone to a meeting at York for the forthcoming season, Sheffield United, about referees. And now some more new. They even brought new rules in then in '94 all the time. And Clive Middlemass was there from Burnley, and he was sat across the room, and it was like a game of charades because I'm sat there with my coach, and Clive sat there, and he's mouthing across the room, "Do you want to come to Burnley?" What? He's going, "Do you want to come to Burnley?" And I'm thinking, what for a day out? Blackpool maybe, but not Burnley. And obviously I was out of favour at Sheffield United at the time, and Clive knew it. And then I got a phone call saying, you know, Burnley want to take you on loan. Would you go? And at the time I wrote Sheffield United side, yeah, of course I will. And it was this was on a Friday morning, and they were travelling up to Sunderland. Steve Davis had just got suspended, so we were going up. To Sunderland. Can you get over for 12 o'clock? We're going up. And I went, yeah, brilliant. And drove over, jumped on coach, and up to Sunderland to play. So that's how quick it was. And a great bunch of lads, and it was just fantastic, yeah.
And Jimmy Mullen, tell us about your reflections about Jimmy. I mean, kind of left under a bit of a cloud, really. But I think he you know, I've never really seen him back at Turf Moor, but
no.
It was a success, wasn't it, or not?
I think so. I think Jimmy, to be honest, I mean, unfortunately, we got relegated that season, but he put the wheels in motion because the club had been in a bad. I mean, obviously, I weren't a Burnley follower, but you'd seen what had gone on with the club and how big a club it is and where they were. And Jimmy had started things moving and got the club moving in the right way. And you'd have to say it was a success because he'd give it success, and he'd give the fans something. He'd give the fans a couple of promotions, and so there was that fever. Then it was coming back. The fans were back with the club. Unfortunately, as it turned out, it didn't work out that way, and I feel a bit bad. Like you said, I didn't realise that, to be honest, Father, that he hadn't been back. He hadn't been back that much, and he hasn't. And really, the fans would still like him. Of course they will, because he gave them success. And like I say about Burnley fans, if you give them something, they'll remember you forever.
Yeah. And Burnley's changed from, well, it's almost, it's still got its heartbeat, hasn't it? But it's changed immeasurably, hasn't it? It is a proper Premier League setup now, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the training ground, we used to go in and there'd be mould growing up wall and it'd be damp. But it were our mould and it were our damp, and we put up with that and we loved it. If you know what I mean. I know that sounds, but we knew it were going to be there, so we'd get on with it. And now you go down.
It were our mould. It were our damp.
Mold. You see, that's me Yorkshireman coming out. Get off me mould, it's mine. That. And now you go down, blooming heck! It's fantastic what they've done, and I'm so pleased they've done that, because they've gone in the Premier League and they've not tried to buy players for whatever. And I don't know what fans go. They've left something there. They've got the training ground now, which is a massive thing. You know, the ground. the ground's going to be what it is, and it's no use building a 50,000 stadium because you're not going to get that. You want that stadium, that intimacy, that where the fans are there, and because I always say about Burnley, if the football club is the town, it's there, and you come down the hills, and I take my dogs on where it's singing, ringing, and you can see it down there, and it still makes me smile when I'm up there and I look down and I think, fantastic, it's there, and it's the thing what probably has kept the town going over the years, because it has bad times, doesn't it? And you know what annoys me more than anything, and you live and saw Rochdale and Burnley, and I go, yeah, what's wrong with Burnley? Oh dear. I say, you want to come up to Burnley? You want to come up, and it's beautiful and around it, and they go, really? And I go, yeah, it is. It's a great place. And to be fair, the people make it. The people make it. I still have people stop you and ask you about what Burnley, and it's nice, and like I've had it all my life. And my kids now we're both of them getting married this summer. Like, Dad, what? Another one? You're talking to somebody, but it's just lovely, and they'll talk about and give you a stick about how you played. Still, bloody hell, I'm 55. They still give me a stick now.
Yeah, it's a special place.
Yeah, it is. It is. And until you've been and met the people and been around it, I don't think people really appreciate what we've got as well around here. It's a great place, great community.
I was. I go up to Singing Ringing Tree. I don't live far from there, but I went down Gawthorpe yesterday, just in woods. And as I was walking the dogs, I noticed there were like half a dozen guys cutting the lawn, the pitches, and I thought, blimmin' heck, I bet that didn't happen in Jamie Hoyland's day. There's probably looking for one man.
Well, we had Arthur Bellamy.
Arthur Bellamy, yeah.
What a man he was, Arthur. I mean, legend of a player, and his groundsman cutting thing, lived in bungalow, and but what a man! You'd have a laugh and a chat with Arthur about game on Saturday and how rubbish you'd been, and shut up, Arthur, cut your lines better and all like that.
He was.
Yeah, but even Arthur, he's another one like you. I didn't know who Arthur Bellamy were. I thought he was groundsman, and then you do a bit of bloody hell, like what a play, what a legend he was.
I thought it was a lovely touch, Jamie, because the bungalow Arthur lived in is now the Arthur Bellamy media.
Yeah, it is. It is, isn't it?
I thought it was a nice touch from Burnley.
Yeah.
And I know the Bellamy family. They're another lovely family, actually.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So, Jamie, the career's starting to wind down, and there's just one club I want to touch on. You play for Scarborough, another club. It must be something in your genes, fella, because they went to the wall as well. Just quickly tell us about that experience at Scarborough. This was full-time football then, wasn't it, with Scarborough?
Oh yeah. This was. To be fair, I'd left Stan when Stan came. I left. I wanted to stay. I wanted to be coach at reserves, but Stan were having none of it, so that was Stan. And to be fair, I get on with Stan now, brilliant, and he's great company when you see him at games and stuff. But so I moved on. That's football, and I was going to sign for Shrewsbury. And another one, as I'm driving down there, I get a phone call off Scarborough, Mick Wadsworth, saying, "Do you want to come to Scarborough as player coach?" And I was coming to end of my career, and I wanted to coach. That was my thing. I was desperate. Thought, unbelievable. So 2-year contract, come as player coach. I went, right, great stuff, I'll come. And I never did a day's coaching. It was the worst mistake of my life. Absolute worst mistake of my life. And I always look back on that and I think, well, as a professional footballer, I stuck with it because I could have chucked it and whatever, but I've missed 2 games all season. I got suspended for 2 games, and I played all the games, and we went down with the last kick of the game when the goalkeeper scored for Carlisle. We didn't get paid for months, which was very alien to me. I've been at 4 fantastic clubs, Man City, Bury, Burnley and Sheffield United, where you got paid. And I went to Scarborough and they suddenly stopped paying you money and stuff like this. And I was going through a difficult time at the time. I was unfortunately getting divorced and stuff like that was happening. And so I'd played there for a season, and I just thought, I was 33 and people were saying to me, oh, come and play for us, come and do this, come and do that. And I just thought, I've had enough. I fell out of love with the game, actually training. And that's the thing I love, the camaraderie of going in, seeing the lads. The Saturdays were great. Of course, we were playing, but all like that. And I fell out of love with it. And I thought, right, I'm packing in at 33. I've had enough for it, which was a big decision when really you think, well, I could have played a bit more. My knees were knackered. I had 8 knee operations on them by then, but I could have got through it. And I just thought, no. I always said to people, that were my thing, because if I'd gone to a non-league club, and they're offering big money, some of these non-league clubs, I would have played on 80%. My passion wouldn't have been there, as it were, to be a, I know it sounds a bit elite, professional football. I was going to play non-league. And I thought, the reputation being a good, solid professional will go. And I thought, no, I'm not doing it. I'm packing in.
You've had a great career, and now you're at Everton. Just tell us, are you scouting at Everton? Is that right?
Yes, yeah. I was lucky enough to, Dave Unsworth brought me in 2016 to work with him with the under-23s. I was lucky enough to make a decent signing, my first one, who's just made his debut for England, so that were all right. And then now I do first team scouting all over the world. To be honest, I've been lucky. Before the lockdown, I was doing like 100 and odd flights a year all over the place. I'd been to Brazil twice, Chile, Peru, all Europe, even Armenia. But
Jamie, how does that work, Jamie? Where does the radar go off? You know, is it the gaffer or is it other people who say?
No, it's our department really.
Yeah.
It's our department, and we try and box off all the tournaments in the world when we can, and really it's just having the database and players who you're checking up on and what survey and what we need. So it's a big organisation, but really a small squad. In fact, Steve Davis works with me there now. So
yeah.
It's I never wanted to be a scout, because I always thought scouts wore flat caps, were old guys, which I suppose I am getting on a bit now at 55, and just wanted a cup of tea at half time. But as it is, I got into it. Actually working for England first and foremost, and I absolutely love it. And I think it must be my Yorkshire side, because when you're scouting, it's your opinion.
Yeah.
And
I've got this image of you with a flat cap and a whippet turning up at Old Trafford.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't mind a flat cap, but that's when I'm taking dogs out, not going to matches. More of a Peaky Blinders flat cap.
Yeah, and just finally, you've got one of the top managers in the world at Everton, but it's a bit hit and miss this year. Do you think the future bodes well for Everton?
Yeah, I think so. I'm hoping so. I mean, they're looking to build a new ground now as well. They got permission to do that. I don't think it's helped, as I'm sure it hasn't helped at quite a few clubs, but certainly I think us and your teams like Sheffield United and Burnley with no fans in there, I think the Evertonians, being in a ground certainly helps with the atmosphere. If you've ever been to Goodison, you know what it's like. They're on top of you. And so our own form's not been as good, and I think that's probably what it's got to do with. But with the manager in charge, you'd hope we're gonna do well in the next few years. But thankfully, we've still got a league to compete in, which is the main thing.
And you think Burnley will scrape over the line this year? It's been a tough year for Burnley.
It has, but it's always going to be. And for them to survive it 6 years now, which is just unbelievable. I mean, people said to me, that I think they'll go this year. And you go, I don't know. Because the one thing they've got, you see, they've got togetherness and fight. And they'll fight. They'll never down tools, Burnley. They'll always go. And that's the thing what does it. And they've got a few individual players as well who can produce something and score the goals. And they've got a way of playing. But I think they'll be all right this year. I mean, Fulham have had the chances to get out of it, and they just can't get that win to get them within a point or anybody. Yeah. And as games are running out now, I think Burnley, another win, and I think they'll be safe.
Yeah. And just a quick word on as you are a scout, on Dwight McNeil. He's got a great career ahead of him, do you feel?
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, it's funny, I saw Dwight when burst onto the scene as a youth player. I went to a youth game, a youth cup game at Turf Moor. He spanked in a shot. He was playing centrally then from about 25 yards, and he thought, "Wow, who's this kid?" And to be fair to him, he's done well because, you know, Sean, he's not big on giving young players a go. And Dwight McNeil's stuck in there and done well. And whether he has a fantastic career at Burnley or somewhere else, that's up to him, really. So, you know, whatever he wants to do. But he's done well. I mean, he's only a young lad, and he's got quite a lot of Premier League games under his belt now as well.
Yeah, he's just gone through 100, I think. So
has he? Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Yeah. That is absolutely brilliant for that age, because if you to make that sort of appearances is few and far between.
Yeah, Jamie, it's been fabulous talking. It's been marvelous talking to you. Your little catchphrase there. It's been fantastic going down memory lane with you and just hearing about some of the old names and some of the old stories and you know, sadly the demise of Bury. And you know, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's a bit weird, footballers talking to Vickers, but I've got quite a following now and they enjoy it. And you know, if you've got any of your mates who want to come on, just give me a shout, because I
will do. Yeah, I will do.
I love talking football. I love the game so much. So
right, yeah, I will do. I'll do that for you. And I'm ever so sorry about me. I'm up in my loft. I live in an old weaver's cottage. Right. That's what the beams are. So I'm just up in there. So my dog, because if postman comes and dogs are barking downstairs, it's crazy. So I thought I'll come up here, and I'm sorry it's a bit unstable, my connection. I'll have a word with BT about that.
And I'll look out for you up at the singing ringing tree.
Right, no problem. Yeah.
Send our love down up the M66 or through Crosherbruth, whichever way you are, and right. All the best for the rest of the year.
Right, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed that. Cheers.
God bless, Jamie. Ta-ra.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.